My first menstrual experience was a very good one because I was very happy.
That was it, but it was crazy, truly.
It was strange.
It was strange and surprising.
It was awkward. Very happy.
It was so painful and kind of screaming, you know, kind of stuff like that. It was so painful, and I couldn't bear the chance to seeing it, so I had to walk away.
And today we are going to be talking about an issue a subject which is very important: menstrual hygiene, menstrual health and hygiene. And we know that when we talk anything about menstruation, it has to do with ladies. So this video is particularly directed to females or ladies. Nevertheless, it is important for the general population to know about this because every lady, every woman needs to be in a comfortable environment and needs to be able to walk through their menstrual cycle with all dignity at all times. It's actually a taboo in many places, in many societies, to talk about menstruation or to even be in public. We all know that menstruation is a natural body process which occurs in females, usually starting from about the age of 10 years, between 10 and 16 years, and sometimes 9 years in some countries. We've had ladies menstruating. So it's a natural body process where the woman sheds blood and other related matter from her uterus, or what we call the womb. And this blood goes out through the vagina and is collected in some materials that I use. That's all about menstruation, and it's just part of the menstrual cycle.
My first experience, that's one day I always want to go back to. Like, give me the kind of experience I have right now. I really want to experience that same day. It actually happened when we were playing outside the house with my peers, and I told them I want to go ease myself because I feel like I had these cramps under my tummy. So after urinating, I realized that there was blood on the floor, so I had to skip. Like, I had a wound around my pubic and stuff like that. So I took a mat, placed it outside, I slept. So when my mom came, I told my mom that, "Mom, it's like I have a wound around my vagina." She was like, "What?" I pulled her behind the house. I showed her the blood that came out from my vagina, and she was like, "You're not a big girl, eh? Yeah. Just know that anytime a man touches you or the dress of a man touches you, you're getting pregnant." And I was so scared because I always had this in mind that I want to get married before I put to bed. So apparently that was it, but it was crazy, truly.
My first experience was that day I was just at home and I felt like eating myself, but I was feeling distressed, like I was stressed. So I left and went to the bath to check what was going on with me. I saw blood on my pants, so I was scared and I ran to my mom and asked her what the problem was. She just told me to calm down because it's a normal thing in a woman's life. She just explained to me how I'll be, how it's going to be, and what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to wear when it starts, and she explained the cycle and all.
It was strange and surprising because it was kind of, I'd never experienced that kind of thing before. And when it started flowing, it was like, should I tell my mom? Should I keep it to myself, or should I just hide it? Maybe it's like something that maybe I ate something that caused that kind of. But I came to realize that I remember when I was in primary school, right, the teacher usually teach us about maturity and all those. So I took it normal. I was in class, I was in Form 2 in class. my stomach started biting in the house, so I just took it like because something very not good for my stomach, for my system. So I went to school, my stomach was biting. I never knew that this is how it's supposed to come. I never knew the cycle. I never knew how to calculate the days. But so it started flowing in class now. We're from sports, that kind of thing. I was sweating, so it just started flowing. My sportswear was dirty. It was stained by blood. Then one of my friends called me and told me that it's like this, that I should go and put on my school skirt and go to the house. They were like, ah. So maybe laughing.
On my first menstrual cycle, it was on a Sunday. I came back from church. In fact, in church I was feeling a type, so I did not really take it serious. I was not expecting something like that. And on that Sunday evening, I went behind to ease myself. Then I discovered that I had some blood stains on my pants. I was not very surprised because at that time I was in Form 5, so I had knowledge about menstrual cycle. They used to teach us in school, and most of my friends back then used to talk about it often, so I was not surprised. But now I had to go to my elder sister and tell her what I've seen. So she took me to my mom. My mom, it was late in the night, and my mom did not actually know what to do exactly at that time because it was already late. Going to buy pad was out of it. So she went inside her room and gave me these sanitary pads. Yeah, she went inside her room and gave me these sanitary pads. Then she told me to go and bathe, and then I should use them. She directed me on how to use it and how to put it. And then the next day now we'll see how to go about it.
My menstrual flow started in school when I was in a boarding school in Form 3. It was in the night when I was sleeping. I just felt a sharp pain in my stomach. When I woke up, I discovered that I was soaked in blood. But I wasn't really surprised because I had seen it with other students in school. So I just understood that that was my first menstrual period.
For me, I kind of thought that maybe menstrual flow is more based in pain, you know, pain like more just based on pain, and I don't really know much about it, but just based on pain, like something like that. Like I just feel like having much pain, like feeling pain in your stomach, and then blood start running out. So much of that.
It's sad to know that only about 50% of the world know the importance of menstrual hygiene. And because of this, many people suffer the consequences of poor menstrual hygiene, which could go from infections, and statistics have shown that these infections also cause infertility at a later date in the future. When we talk of menstrual hygiene, what is it all about? It has to do with a lady knowing, having access to materials to use during her menstruation, being able to change these materials in privacy, and having access to waste disposal so that they can dispose of these materials. That's all about menstrual hygiene. So you need to know the materials to use, which could run from what is common in our milieu like the disposable pads, People also use reusable towels. That's not very common, but you have to know that it exists. And then there's what we call menstrual cups that the lady inserts in her vagina and it collects the blood during the menses. How often should a lady change these materials? According to the American Society of Gynecologists, American College of Gynecologists and Obstetricians, they recommend about 4 to 8 times or 4 to 8 hourly change of the menstrual materials. On average, we expect a lady to change her menstrual materials at least 3 times a day. In the morning, 8 hours after, and then at the 24th hour, the lady should be able to change her materials. Why? The more you have a pad on, the longer you have a pad on, going about your activities, you are going to sweat, and with time you will smell. It may be one of the reasons why people may not want to come in contact with you during your menstruation. You don't want smell. So to avoid that, change at least 3 times a day. The number of times you change actually depends on your flow, how comfortable you are, and how you feel during that period. Some people have a heavy flow, they may have to change more than 3 times a day, but on average, we recommend 3 times change. Another reason why we don't want you keeping your pads too long is because the longer it stays there, remember we said material is leaving the uterus, going out of the body. If it stays there, there can be overflow. So you'll get yourself soiled, and we don't want that during your menstruation. It's something that you have to take care of. Besides the overflow, you can have an overflow and have a backflow of blood into the body, and you increase the risk of infections in the reproductive system. I want to stop here to really say this matter of infections, I'm repeatedly talking about it because many cases that we see with infertility, when we try to trace back, we discover they had had reproductive tract infections at some period in their life. They didn't know, or it wasn't properly taken care of. And one of the ways to prevent those infections is to make sure that you take the whole issue of menstrual hygiene seriously.
Actually, I did not go with my parents. I go with my aunt in the village, in a native village. She is not literate. She knows nothing less about educating a child about on menstruation. I just grew up like that, learning from friends, knowing that if this thing do stain my dress, it will bring me disgrace. That's just all I know when I grow up. So I managed to grow up alone like that. I don't blame her because she too was not educated about it. She grew up like that.
I think parents are ashamed or are shy to discuss such topic with their children. I don't know why. Maybe they feel it is awkward or it is not good. There was one time when my aunt and I went to a store to buy, and when I saw a pad, I asked her what it was, and she told me that it was biscuit. I don't know why she said that, but since from then nobody has told me anything about a menstrual cycle.
My mom has never really talked about anything on menstruation ever since we were growing up. So what we got to know about it was either taught in school or discussed with friends.
Before that day, she had never told me anything about it, because I was not always with her though. I was always in the boarding school, and whenever I come for holidays, she'll just think I'm still a child. She'll never talk about it.
From our point of view, I would say most parents don't discuss these issues with their children because first, some of them are shy. Some parents are shy to be discussing issues like that with their children. And then secondly, I don't know if it's like some parents feel like when you are discussing such things with your children, you are spoiling them, because in the course of discussing about menstruation with your daughter, you're not just going to end with menstruation, but you talk about sex and pregnancy and all the like. So maybe to them it's a way of spoiling them, and since they are shy too, they rather prefer to run away from discussions like that when it comes to discussing with their children. It has an effect on the girl child because if when you're growing up and your mom happened to discuss such issues with you, at least you know how to handle the situation when it meets you directly. But now, and you equally know how to discuss it with your own children tomorrow. But now when our parents shy away from discussions like this, you find out that if you don't learn it in school or from other friends, you are blank and you don't really know anything about menstrual cycle. So I really think it's a very bad idea for parents to run away from such discussions with their female children in particular.
Now these days, we don't allow our children go by like that. We need to educate them. We need to make them understand that it's not something strange or it's not something bad. They need to know that how to take care of themselves. Like her, I have a daughter. I monitor her every month. I tell her what to do. If I see her mishandle any of her property, so when it comes to that, let me say her pad, her pants, or maybe she cleaned the pants, it's not clean, I have to call her to caution. Yes.
Yeah, it's normal to have the premenstrual syndrome or to experience some changes when you are expecting your menses, like mood swings. You may feel depressed, you may feel easily tired, you may have pain, and that pain is usually under your stomach, or you may go around your waist. That's premenstrual or menstrual cramps or menstrual pain. And you need to know how to manage this. The people who are around the lady need to know and accept them when they are in that state. It's a normal thing. It happens like that because of the hormonal changes that the lady undergoes during that period. And for the menstrual pain, what I want to say is you can do more exercise if you experience it. You can take a warm bath or take a cloth, soak in warm water and put on your abdomen. Is going to help. Or some over-the-counter painkillers that are easily sold. Some people also experience tender breasts or painful breasts, and the breast may feel a bit swollen and full just before the menses, and that's just normal.
So Buea in particular is a region or an area in which has been affected by the socio-political crisis. So you discover that we in Buea here particularly we have a lot of internally displaced persons, and which of these people are mostly women and girls. So you see that when they are migrating, they migrate and come and settle in some places in the southwest region here, particularly in Buea, where they really do not have access to clean water and hygiene or sanitation, and this is actually a limited factor because at times they travel a very long distance just to carry water. And of course in a gender setting or a societal setting, women and girls are in charge of bringing water into the household. So just imagine a girl going to a very long distance just to carry water and bring to the house, maybe to clean her things, or maybe she's menstruating and she needs to clean herself. So it's actually it's something that's very detrimental, something that we need to solve. We have that people feel very uncomfortable talking about reproductive health, about sexual health. People associate menstrual health to stigma. They look at it in a very discriminatory manner, or they look at it as if it's some sort of that stereotype, that as if someone has done something somewhere wrong, as if it's a curse or something, which of course is not. And also our society and our environment haven't given that permission or given that appropriate environment to welcome girls in some areas, or welcome girls and women in areas and sectors in which they can feel very comfortable and actually make sure they actually reach their full potentials. Take for example schools. You discover that in schools they don't have adequate toilets, or they don't have access to pad when it comes to when a girl is menstruating. Maybe a girl is more likely to go back home and maybe sort herself, and she might be absent from classes from those days. Just imagine that a girl has 5 days menstruating. That's 5 Monday, Tuesday to Friday. Those are 5 school days she has missed just because of menstruation. Also women at work, in the working spaces, they are not welcoming where they can actually go and maybe sort out themselves when during menstruation. They have to lose some working hours, and they are at risk of losing their jobs.
There was one time in school when I was in class, and when I woke up I just discovered that I was stained with blood. Then when I turned to look at my dress, I also discovered that my fellow classmates were laughing at me. That made me feel very uncomfortable and ashamed.
Community Center for Integrated Development have carried out activities such as we've had awareness raising, we've gone to schools and given information, or where we've actually educated girls and boys. In order to live in a community and actually attain that development and equality, we need to integrate men and boys in everything we do, because they have to be active participants in all of these things, because this health actually affects them back at home and growing up as children. So we've educated girls on their menstrual health. We've been able to also train them on how to make beaded wristbands for their, in order to calculate their menstrual cycle, and also we've been able to teach them how to go about their menstrual health and hygiene. Also, we've been able to carry out an activity where a fellowship, that's Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Fellowship, where we just train community leaders on what sexual reproductive health and rights is all about, and of course menstrual health being one of the main things, or one of the things that affect girls and women in our society. We've been able to incorporate them, or give them that information they need to go out there and advocate, or actually to actually mainstream, or to actually trickle down the knowledge to their communities. Also, we've been able to build toilets in which girls can go and feel comfortable and clean themselves during their menstrual flow, so as to actively participate or to engage themselves in classes without necessarily missing classes. And lastly, we've been able to, we are advocating, actually that's something we have been doing, and that's something we have to constantly do, to advocate for policies in both in schools, the governments and other organizations, business areas, all sectors, to build or to provide access to these places in which women and girls can feel comfortable without missing out, because we cannot attain development without women actually reaching their full potentials. So if they miss out, then there's something lacking. So we've been able to capacitate them on that capacitate women and girls and boys, but we need to also bring in resources, or bring in that setting, the environment where they can feel comfortable and access or gain their rights. And menstrual hygiene, of course, is an issue, a limited factor to gender equality. If you want to attain gender equality, we must think about gender equity. That's by building toilets and some certain things. So menstrual hygiene, or that setback is a hindrance for us attaining gender equality, development, good health and well-being, and just basically in an equality in our society. So it's very, very important.
Every parent has been through the whole idea of menstruation and menstrual hygiene. And if you have a girl child, you have to educate them. Truly speaking, if our girl children are not educated from home, and then school, and then their peers, they are going to learn the wrong practices, and they will not avoid all the consequences that come with poor menstrual hygiene. So I want to say to the parents out there, when your girl child is about 9 years old or 10, start to talk to them about menstruation. From time to time, have a one-on-one talk with them. You may not want to do that when the male children are around. You may just call them and introduce the whole subject to them, and tell them that as they age, sooner than, in fact, as they grow older, they are going to, at some point in their life, find themselves maybe soiled with blood. It's a normal process. And then take time to talk to them on what to do if it happens. One thing we want to achieve by this is you want to build a trust. You want to build trust between your girl child and you, so that they may always come up to you to say, this is how I feel, this is how I feel, and you can give counseling. If you don't know what to do, you take them to a healthcare professional. So let them know that from about the age of 10 years, it's possible that one day they'll take off their pants and find blood there without it being provoked.
Well, as a woman, I'll not just speak for myself. There are lots of challenges out there. Okay, for example, I talk about the pains around your tummy, which is like every girl passes through that pains. It's a whole lot of pain. At times, you transfer aggression. I, for one, I like to transfer aggression when I'm in my period. And for young girls, there are times when they will not have money for pad, or want to be using the toilet tissues, which it can also cause an infection in your body.
When I just started seeing my menstrual flow, it was really challenging. It was really challenging because, at times it becomes boring for you to, see blood like that all the time. Not just any type of blood, one stinking blood like this. So just seeing that blood every month is a very big challenge.
When the girl is in pain, I rush to her and ask her what can we do to stop this, or what do, because me I don't know much about it, so I asked me what do we do to stop it, or how can I be of help. And I was someone like, please find me someone like, please show me water, you know, kind of stuff like that. They have different phrases.
Actually, there are a lot of myths and a lot of stigmatization when it comes to menstrual flow, or a girl seeing her first menstrual flow. In some cultures, it's like when a girl when she menstruates, it's a sign of womanhood. Like, okay, we have to send her out for marriage because she's ready for marriage. Also, some communities, let me say, typically in where I come from, that's the Busa community, they say when you're menstruating, you should not bathe with hot water, like, because in the future you will not give birth. Like, there are a lot of myths about it. And also there are some different cultures, like you send out their children for that child marriage, sending out children for child to get married just because they are menstruating is actually something very detrimental to us as a society, even though some people do not realize that it's actually detrimental. And also that stigma that comes with it, because we look at girls menstruating as if they have done something wrong, or maybe it's a taboo or something. It is not something wrong. A girl seeing her menses at any age is not something wrong. It's just human. It's just biological. We are bound to see our menstrual cycles, like as women or as girls. So it's something biological. Or at times we find people discriminating. Oh, you're a woman too, because you know this menstruation thing comes along with reproduction. All of these things. You're a woman. You're menstruating. Oh, you will not keep this place clean. Or during menstruation you don't enter this prayer house, or you don't enter this particular space because you're menstruating. Why should a woman should not be allowed? Why is a woman not allowed to enter a particular space because of menstruation? Is it a taboo? Is it not something that is given? It's actually something for us to be happy about, because it's a sign to show that we are human beings and it's a gift. I think that kind of thing should be celebrated instead of stigmatized and discriminated upon.
Most men that feel tired when you see a lady going through menstrual pain, I could say that's foolishness or stupid, dull mindset. Yeah, seeing a girl going through that kind of pain and you act like it's nothing, or you feel like it's dirty or some kind of stuff like that, it's very bad.
You just need to be open to your children. Yes, because for every human being, if there's no menstruation, if a woman does not has a flow, you can never, let me say, conceive a baby, because it's after menstruation, let's say ovulation and so on and so forth, before a human being will come to existence. So you don't like make them to believe that it's something that they have to hide from you when it starts. They need to know that when they are facing any problem, let me say, Mama, my menses are coming today, this month 28, this month is coming, but on the 20th, they need to tell you that fluctuation. Maybe you have to take them and consult a doctor. Yes, you need to be open to them. Yes, you need to discuss things like that with them. It should be a flowing topic. It should not be a topic that somebody needs to go and gather courage from somewhere before explaining to you.
My advice to parents is that they should always try their best, their possible best, to educate their children on menstrual flow, because it will really help the children. It will really help the children, especially the girl child. It will help you because you will know some certain things about menstrual cycle, and you will know how to handle it in case you are faced with such a issue, even when your mom is not around. But in the case where your mother has never talked to you about it, and maybe you two have never heard it from somewhere, when you see that type of thing like that, maybe you see blood stains on your pants or something, you are going to be scared, and you might even, that people will end up being traumatized because of the whole issue. But in a case where your mother had already educated you on it very well and giving you both the advantages and the disadvantages of the menstrual flow, you would have that type of understanding on the necessary things that you are supposed to do when it has to do with menstrual cycle. So my advice to parents is that they should really educate their children, especially the girl child, about the menstrual cycle, so that they will prevent some certain embarrassments which can occur along the way.
When we talk about menstrual health and hygiene, I've made mention of the fact that the girls need to be in an environment where they can handle this with all dignity. So they need the support from the general population. Anybody around them should be able to support them. It's a normal process. It's like mocking at somebody for being a boy or mocking at someone for being a girl is uncalled for. Give them the support that they need. If you find somebody stained by your side, they may not have known about menstruation. They may not even know that they are stained. Because in as much as we talk about the premenstrual syndrome, some people don't experience it. So if they've not known how to calculate and expect their menstrual cycle and expect their menses, they may just suddenly get stained without noticing it. If that's the case, just call the person, draw their attention to that. If you have something to cover them up and let them be able to go through this. So it's not something to mock about. It's natural. It's ordained by God that it's going to be like that. And on the contrary, if a lady doesn't menstruate, then something is wrong. We will not talk of her having children in the future. It will be a problem. So be happy if a girl child by you is menstruating and help them walk through this experience.